my name is Jacob Palmer. I am a senior recruiter here at RecWorks and have been here for nearly 8 years now. So in case those of you don't know who RecWorks are, so we organise all of the LCTO events and have done since 2010. Sorry, just got a few more people to enter into. And yeah, so we're involved in various other meetups other than the LCTOs. So we also organise events for Milestone London AI, Aspiring Women Speakers, the London Java community, Front Engineers, and Lundroid as well. So despite all this community work, we are at our core a tech recruitment company, but we like to use our links in the community and vast networks to help scale startups, scale-ups, and larger companies like your Expedias, Nutmeg, Skyscanner, Visa, and ITVs of the world as well. We generally find that companies approach us because their current recruitment solutions are not working. Either they're not accessing the right talent, or it's becoming too time consuming to just handle all of the applications that they're on their own. So that's where they tend to bring us in. So yeah, if anyone's having struggles at the moment on any technical roles really, then give us a shout. We cover all different languages and yeah, generally place roles in London, UK, and across the EU as well. So again, if anyone wants to have a chat, anyone wants to discuss the state of the market at the moment, obviously it was an interesting year we experienced in 2023. So feel free to let me know when you're about and when you're free. I will drop my LinkedIn profile onto the chat in a few moments. So if anyone, as I say, please do send me a connection request and we can go from there. So yeah, without further ado, I'll hand you over to Sheetal. So Sheetal is the founder of formAgility, which is a change management consulting firm. And today she'll be sharing a surefire way to set achievable goals for 2024. So take it away, Sheetal.
Thanks, Jacob. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see you. So just a quick show of hands. Have you guys got your mission statements ready for 2024? Just a show of hands if you've done that already. I've got an idea of it. Cool. Okay. Anyone else? James? Yes. Yeah, okay, well, that's fine if you haven't. Hopefully by the end of this session, you'll start to get a fair idea of what it is you want to achieve for 2024. But the idea is in this session is that I'm just going to walk you through a brand new canvas called the Mission Canvas that I've created over the last over the course of the last 6 months. And the idea is that it helps you set your goals and your visions for 2024 and then share that with your team. So without further ado, I'm actually going to screen share quickly. Hope you see the right screen. Everyone see my screen okay? Great. Okay, so first question, if anyone wants to share, what is your mission for 2024? Anyone want to share that?
I'll go.
Thanks,
Hi.
Russell.
So
Hey.
my mission is to get work coming to me rather than me going to the work.
Okay.
In the broadest sense.
Sounds good. Anyone else? And am I just sharing the right screen? You can't see my notes or anything, can you? You can see the big screen, not the small screen. Okay, good. Thank you. Anyone else? Is there like a big idea? Is it a new product? Maybe some improvements? Anyone? You don't have to share it. It could even be a secret, right?
In my case, much simpler. Just find another company to be CTO of.
Say that again, Sebastian. What was that?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yes, to find another company for which to be the CTO.
Okay. Okay, to find a company to become a CTO for. That's great. That's really cool. Okay, so when we're working with companies, there's a lot to consider when it comes to like setting goals and visions for an organization, but it's the same applies to us as well. So if we're setting our own personal goals and visions as well, this is an actual good template to follow. There are key things to consider. From an organization point of view, it would be the people, the platforms, the processes, and the product. And this is something that we do all the time, is that whenever we kind of consider any goals that we're setting for 2024 and beyond, we tend to put into mind, who do we need in terms of, helping us get to our goals? What tools and applications are we going to need? What process do we follow? and is our current process working? And also, what is the outcome? What is the product that we're actually looking to kind of either get out to market or, you know, be ourselves? It could be us being the product. So we might be the product, i.e. the CTO in this case, to deliver ourselves as well. So what is it exactly that we need to be considering? So in a nutshell, there's a fair bit to think about. But one thing that formAgility do is that we try to align all of our objectives to our strategic bigger goals. And those bigger goals for us in our organization would be to future-proof. So anything that we work on and anything we deliver has to be future-proof. It's got to be high-performing. So we live in a world today where instant gratification is rife. Everything is changing consistently. So we need to always keep ourselves at peak performance, or at least a high performance. We always make sure that we like to be client-centric. And also we want to embed trust and transparency wherever we go. So we want to make sure that these are our principles. Whenever we think about our goals, our objectives, that we can align them to these principles. Any questions so far? Who knows this? Has anyone heard of this, the Lean Canvas? You familiar with it? What are your thoughts about it?
And being honest, it's easy to fill in and then file away.
Yes, exactly. And so we're not actually going to be talking about the Lean Business Canvas. It's great to start putting together ideas and brainstorming and thinking about a product. So it's very product focused. It does solve problems, and it helps you think about the problems that you want to solve this year, or, you know, with the actual tool or product that you're building. But what it doesn't do is give you a firm, solid pipeline of work or things to do at the end of it. So it's almost like you have to build this as a brainstorming, and then you have to go in and rethink things. What we want to do is what we introduce to most organizations: winning objectives that will help you really make a difference. Not only make a difference, but align to the actual organization's values, so to speak. So without further ado, I will introduce to you the mission canvas. I'm guessing none of you have come across this before, but have you come across anything similar? No. Okay.
OKRs, obviously.
OKRs. Yeah,
OKRs.
OKRs. Okay. So what this is actually doing is it's taken on the concept of the Lean Canvas, but actually put it together in a way that's meaningful at the highest level. So when we want to communicate our big missions to the rest of our teams and our people, our managers, the execs, everybody, we need to find a way to consolidate. There's a lot of information to share at the end of the day, so we want to consolidate it, but also keep things focused. So what we've been building for the last 6 months is a kind of mission-based canvas where we can share our missions for 2024, but in a way that's succinct, but also still quite high level. So it gives the information that you need, but it doesn't need you to go completely deep. But what it also does, it helps people understand and visualize, and also start thinking about how they're going to deliver your missions. This particular canvas you can use for every mission that you have. So it's not for every mission in one canvas, it's one canvas per mission. So what this does, it actually gives you the focus that you need when it comes to articulating key goals, key objectives. So we've broken it down into 12 sectors, quadrants, I'd call them. The first one is the big ask. So the key here is to find your why. Why are we doing this mission in the first place? What is it? So I'm calling it a mission, not a goal, by the way. So we're trying to stay a little bit more focused. What is the mission and why is it important to you or the organization? And to do that, what I often do is encourage people to use and apply the SMART approach. Have you come across SMART before? Yeah, it's quite simple. It's not difficult, but I think it helps when it comes to articulating what your big mission might be. So be specific, make sure that it can be measured, make sure that it is an actionable mission, so you can go out there and bring it to life. Make sure it's realistic. So try to stay grounded when it comes to describing what that mission might be. So like, but you don't have to be too realistic. I mean, think about it. You know, Elon Musk sent Tesla into space. That was probably in some people's minds unrealistic, but to some degree, let's try and keep it realistic. But not to say don't think of the impossible, and also make sure that it's timely. Any questions around this? Any thoughts? Straightforward? Yeah, fairly straightforward. The next thing we want to think about are who's going to own this mission. So remember, we're keeping it focused. So when it comes to thinking about our key goals, our key objectives, or round it up, let's call it our mission again, who do we need to take ownership for it? So we need to find the people who have a sense of purpose within our organizations, within our teams, but we need key people who are going to lead, but lead with some level of expertise as well. So in this case, you want to make sure if you're working or building if your mission is to do, for example, build a digital product, well, you need to make sure that someone from technology has enough expertise and knowledge and experience to be able to lead from a technology point of view. For every business, you need that business head. So having someone who understands your product or service is absolutely essential to your success. And then also delivery. So you need somebody who's going to be able to help shape the way your mission is going to be delivered and identify the delivery processes and tools that they're going to need and the people they need as well. Any questions on this in terms of ownership?
Just one, Sheetal. Who's coming up with the why in the first place?
So when it comes to the why, it should be a joint effort. Starts with your leadership team. So why are we doing this in the first place? There needs to be someone who's able to articulate it, but also to be shared and validated with your key people as well. So that kind of leads quite nicely onto the next one, which is all your key players and your touch points. Whoever's involved in bringing your mission to life needs to understand the why, but not only understand it, help articulate it as well if you haven't found it. Does that help, Russell? Okay, great. So yeah, moving on to the players and the valuable touch points. Think about before you even go ahead to build a mission, have you got the right people? Think about the core team that you've got in place. So we're thinking of this from an organizational point of view. But Sebastian, from your point of view, your core team and your core players would be, the key people who are going to help you find the role. So in this case, it could be a recruitment team, for example. So we try and make it work for different scenarios in as much detail as we can, in many ways as we can. So, but from a delivery point of view, from a company point of view, you need the people who are going to bring that mission to life. And that includes your owners, so people who are responsible for that delivery, but your development team, people who are experts in the particular product that you want to deliver, for example, or the service, and the people who are going to plan it. So these are the people that are going to literally bring it to life. But on the other side of that are your other valuable touch points. So there could be legal things that come into play, regulations and rules and guidelines and compliance stuff. So from that point of view, you need to know who is going to help you accomplish this mission with all these other things in mind as well. So it could be operations. How is this going to function when it comes to life? Does it need an operational team? What sort of financial implications are there? And who's responsible for that? And then not only that, but your really valuable touch point is actually the customer, your consumer. Who is it that's going to be on the receiving end of this mission? And what are the benefits of that as well? Any questions? Okay. So key objectives. Once you've got your mission articulated, you want to try and make a list of all the things that you think you need to do in order to bring that to life. Now, at this point, we just keep it high level. There's nothing else that we need to do. Just make a quick list of how we feel and what are the things that we need to do to bring that mission to life. It's just a quick list. And staying at high level, moving over to the outcomes quadrant, you think about, okay, right, here's an example actually that I've given you. So let's say for one of the missions, it could be that we want to build a brand new product, and that product could be, I don't know, a bookstore. And one of the objectives in that mission would be to advertise it and actually launch an email campaign to capture interest. So let's create an email campaign. So the objective is run an email campaign to create the awareness of your product. And that could include things like the key objectives being building our emails, configure a CRM, import some leads, set up the email campaign, build a landing page, etc., etc. Now, once we've got an idea of that list of objectives, it's always important to try and think about what outcomes should we expect. So what we're doing here is setting an expectation about what outcomes we want to see as part of this mission being accomplished. Any questions on this one? So then the other quadrant we want to think about is, okay, right, so we've got an idea of what we want to deliver, what those objectives are, but then we also want to think about what are the risks associated with that, but from 2 points of view. So point of view number 1, if we accomplish this mission, are there any risks associated with that? So for example, if we launch this website, what could be the risks associated? We may find that there's no uptake, there's no customers, then that's a risk. What then that leads to is us thinking about how to mitigate those risks early on. Then you've got the unaccomplished. So if we don't achieve this mission, what could go wrong? So we need to think about go back to our why from before and say, if we don't deliver this, what could potentially be the consequences of that? Could it be nothing? In which case, is this a serious mission? Or could it be that we don't have any customers again, so we have no books to sell? Or, you know, what is it? So the key thing around thinking about risks, and I think, you know, you all know this, is that when we think about risks, we can then start thinking about mitigating them early and taking ownership of them. So I'm guessing you might be familiar with the Rome board. Anyone familiar with Rome? Okay, I'm sorry, I haven't put it in here, but I will add it to my next slide. But in terms of risks, you want to identify them, take ownership of them, action against them, put some actions against them, and then mitigate them as well. So you want to sort of go through 4 quadrants and sort of decide, you know, have we got the awareness? What do we do about those risks, and how can we get rid of them? So it just gets you thinking a little bit more about that. Any other questions on that, or any thoughts, opinions?
Quick question.
Yeah.
I am very visual, so sometimes when I see the risk in a table or so on, it's very easy for me to lose focus on the different options when a risk materializes, etc.
Yeah.
Have you never seen any tool like a map or similar can I see something like that being used in any company?
Yeah. So this is what I mean by the Rome board, actually. Let me see if I can. I'll look it up later and I'll show you what that looks like. But it's a 4 quadrant matrix that shows you where to position the risks, and everything's about visualizing. The whole purpose of what we're doing here as well is to visualize this all onto a board somewhere. But that's a very good question, and yeah, being visual is probably the best way to go forward. So the next thing, like, let's imagine the final piece is that, no, not the final piece, but one of the as you've got to the goal, you've achieved the mission, and you've got success. What could be the headline news? Imagine what that might look like. So what will others be saying if your mission gets accomplished? How do you share the news? And if it went to press, what would be the headline? For those of you who have thought about what the objectives are for 2024, have a think about what that might sound like. So Sebastian, what would your headline be, for example?
Would be, for example, CTO of XYZ scale up, helping them to triple.
Yeah. And what this does is it sets the precedence of what your expectations are. So when you actually try and visualize and think about a mission being accomplished, chances are you're almost like halfway there getting it accomplished because it's set in stone and you've set the ball rolling. The other thing, it's a bit of an anti-agile pattern, but it's about timelines. How long do you need in order to achieve this mission? I think it's always good to give yourself a timeline, but always apply some level of flexibility around a timeline. So let's say, for example, we say, okay, we want to build this bookshop website over the course of 120 days. Then I would always advise people to add 90 days as a buffer zone to give yourself enough time to make sure that you've got all the kind of technical nuances and any other unknowns that come along the way to be dealt with as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I find estimation to be one of the most difficult things to do.
Yeah. The thing with timelines, it's often a finger in the air. So it's always a guesstimate, and it's always going to be a guesstimate, which is why it's always good to allow a buffer zone. But not only that, if you've got the capabilities to just experiment and just kind of create short windows of time, then that's also really helpful. So when you think about delivering your objectives, it's always recommended that we do break them down, and I'll talk about that in a short while. But strategic alignment is another one. So with all organizations, they all have their key cultural or strategic needs or values. So again, I mentioned this at the beginning. Our values and our culture is all about future-proofing, building high performance, making sure that we're client-centric, and also building trust and transparency. So with every single mission that we articulate in this canvas, we make sure that it aligns with one of our bigger picture goals. So, for example, we have one of our missions is to run events every month, and we want to make sure that we've got the best speakers in town, which means that what we're doing is we're making sure that we're client-centric, but we're also making sure that we're building trust and transparency with the kind of information that we're delivering to our potential clients as well. Any questions on that? I mean, what are your kind of business objectives? Have you guys got them articulated anywhere? Do you know if your missions are aligning to it? I mean, Russell, maybe you've got an example here.
So I do. So I've taken 6 months out of contracting, consulting, direct supply after 10 years to try and develop some content, proposition, so on and so forth.
Right.
And I've gone back into the contracting world for a period of time to run both in parallel. And my goal is to, I think I said at the beginning, to get work to start coming to me rather than me going to the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I can get people interested enough in the things which I do for a living, which work, and package them up in a way which are useful to them for free, then that starts to create a following, that sort of thing. Does that answer your question? Strategic alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. So from your point of view, your alignment would be to kind of, it may be knowledge share. So it could be that you're packaging up some knowledge and one of your goals is to share that. So your missions would align to knowledge sharing, for example. So and another one could be, you know, again, building trust and transparency. You're positioning yourself in the market to make sure that people, one, get the awareness of who you are, but then build that trust with the work that you're delivering as well. Does that help?
So just thinking about what one of my principles would be, people need to find the thing which I'm talking about interesting on a meritocratic basis. So
Right.
they need to be interested in it, they need to want it, they need to be willing to try it with
Yeah.
almost like complete opt-in,
Yeah.
self-qualify. So that's one of my key principles.
Okay. So self-qualifying then.
Because as an agile delivery consultant, transformation consultant, we are all guilty of trying to get people to do what we think needs to be done.
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
absolutely 180 degrees wrong around the wrong
It
direction.
is.
And
Uh-huh.
it's a problem of engagement. So that's a key principle for me.
Yeah.
Very good. Right.
Yeah, so your key principles in this case could be empowering your customers, maybe. So the people that you work with, you want to make sure that they're always empowered in terms of the way you're engaging with them. But I guess engagement as well could be another one for yourself as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, when you're thinking about your missions, always consider how it would align with your own principles as well, and whether it would meet any goals surrounding those particular values as well. So costs is something that tends to go unnoticed and off the radar whenever we're planning big goals and big visual, well, when we're talking about, meeting our 2024 objectives, but it's a key factor in everything we do. There's costs associated with everything. There are direct costs, which are related to your mission in itself. As an organization, there's always going to be other indirect costs as well. So direct costs could be, the cost to develop your new product, for example. You might need to hire new people. You might need to buy new software or tools or applications or even hardware. You may need to think about providing training. You may need to go and engage with legal people to sort out contracts. You may need to there's also a cost of time here as well. In terms of actually making sure that all of this is in place before you even kick off a new project or product delivery. And then you've got the indirect costs. As a CTO, you may have to make sure that the operational side is all in place. Got to keep the lights on, I guess. There's maintenance, there's rents, there's people, there's legal, there's marketing. That's a bigger picture cost that could still cost an organization, but it may not apply to all of us. So think about how much this mission is going to cost, and then sort of try and factor that in early on if you can, so that there's no surprises in the future. It helps keep things afloat as well. So that's pretty much it in terms of the mission canvas, but that's just one part of it. So when we've managed to articulate objectives and what the mission can be, and we've broken it down, we've thought about the outcomes, we've decided who we need in order to bring this mission to life, and we've thought about, what the risks might be, we need to think about breaking it down. And if we're going to break it down, my recommendation would be to split it across the 4 quarters for 2024 in particular, or, whenever your quarter starts. That's a natural way of companies organizing their kind of missions or objectives. That's quite natural. However, I would also say take it one step further, and that is per each quarter, break your objectives down to 30, 60, and 90-day plans. Some of you may be familiar with this from PI planning point of view, and I think it's quite a powerful way to organize your work. And I think it also helps when you start articulating the mission to your teams. This is the piece that you hand over to your teams and say, right, guys, can we organize the work as much as we possibly can? We don't have to think all the way across quarter 2, 3, and 4 if we don't have all that information. It's absolutely fine. So bear this in mind. In true agile form, you may just have Q1 articulated. You may not have more than that, and that's okay. But what we're trying to do here is visualize as much as we can, get it articulated and planned, but also this will help you see how big or small your mission really is. And the more you break it down, the more you'll be able to articulate and get that figure for your number of days it's going to take to deliver this accurate. Well, not accurate, but closer to the truth, if that makes sense. Any questions on this?
Just one. Sorry for hogging the floor here.
No, it's fine.
So, are you up for a bit of constructive questioning here?
Yes, of course, of course.
bit of a challenge. So you said handing over to the teams. I was a bit surprised to hear that, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I think from a change point of view, that's a barrier the shields come up.
Yeah.
The shields go up. I think if you haven't involved, just personally speaking, if you haven't involved the team or teams that are going to be involved in this much earlier than the handover bit, then you have no chance of doing any of this. None.
No, you're spot on. So that's not to say the vision. So when you do go and complete this part, so when you're actually going through the process of your big ask, the usual game of play would be that, okay, we sit down, we think about it first ourselves, but then in the next step, we would want to share that with your teams and get their feedback as well. So 100% you're spot on there, Russell. You wouldn't actually take them down the route of planning before you'd even articulated this and shared it with them as well. So the whole purpose of this particular deck, this particular canvas, is to make it simple, simplify what your vision is, set your key objectives, and actually share it with your teams and your managers as well. But for you, from your point of view, that's as far as you would go to then hand over to the teams to then put the plan in place. So it would be a combination of two. Your team engagement is essential right from the start. So yeah, 100% with you on that one. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it in terms of actually putting your vision together. So question around you, what's your mission? So have a think about that. But just remember, if you break it out, you're not likely to have just the one mission. You're probably going to have a number of different objectives and missions to achieve for your company, which means that what I would say is do this per each mission. Don't combine all the missions into one of these canvases. Do one each for each and every single one of them, and then break it out to, you know, to like your 4 quarters. But then, and then sort of the next stage is obviously then moving over to your teams and handing over them the responsibility and saying, right, I trust you guys. Let's bring this mission to life, and then obviously allow them to think about how they want to deliver things really. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So are you ready to make a difference? And again, if we want to work together, let me know, then we can take this above and beyond what it is today. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Any questions?
I do, obviously, but I'm going to let everyone else go first. No?
What were your thoughts? I mean, I'd love to get your feedback on what you thought about what the canvas can do for yourselves as well, and if it is of any value or not. I'd love to get your feedback on that.
I just ask my question around that then, seeing as there's silence, there's an open floor. Typically, you know, let's just say that there are CTOs or going to be CTO type people on this call.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining types of organizations that they are in, and given what you've just walked through, very good, thank you very much. What do they do with this? What do they do next? So
the idea is to keep it somewhere where it's available and visual at all times. And because we've actually broken everything down to sort of 30, 60, 90-day plans, there needs to be some kind of review where you're kind of keeping on point and kind of keeping track of where you are.
Right.
But the next step, sorry.
So that's my bad.
Okay.
What I meant to ask was, after this call,
oh right,
what does this group of people do if they're not currently doing this? I think, wow, this is great. Is it on the individuals on this call to lead on this, or would you expect them to go and speak to others and form up a posse to go and look at this, or how would you expect them to start moving towards trying?
I think the expectation would be to take this to a workshop setting and invite your key stakeholders, your key players to the table to then start articulating your missions one at a time. So yeah, I would suggest that you do form your posse, as you said, and build it out together. Don't do it in silo. Have a think about, if you know what the missions are, then I would say get them listed out, but then still bring your people together and say, right, okay, this is what I think they are, and then get it validated is probably the next step. So,
and is it something that you think an individual who hasn't done this before, but has been a manager for some time, would be able to do and would be able to lead on?
I think so. I mean, I feel like the aim of the canvas is to be self-explanatory. And so when you kind of go, when you've got the sort of canvas put out there, it does have like little indicators, just like the Lean Business Canvas has, to say what you need to do in each quadrant. So it should be self-explanatory. But again, you know, if there is a struggle, then of course that's something we can definitely help with as well.
Thank you.
A question. It's more about, it's a line similar to what Russell is asking, but more about your experience working with not techies, so the SMT, CEOs, etc. My experience, techies, CTO, etc., they are happy to use these tools. And then we have the other part of the SMTs, they just don't bother even to use any tool, even Trello.
Yeah.
And they still sending Excel, attaching email, etc.
Yeah.
So what is your experience trying to use these tools with the SMTs?
Yeah, so I think it's always important to kind of bring them and just share how important this would be, how important their input would be to these canvases as well. This is where the whole ownership piece kicks in. So if you're able to say, look, you know, we need you to take ownership of this mission as well, and we own it together. One of the things about agility is about working together, and it is about collaborating. So it's sort of introducing the idea of joint ownership to meet their goals. So articulate it so that it's like, this is not just about us, it's about you as well, and how we can work better together. So the idea would be to bring them in, but give them a voice at the table as well.
But from your point of view, from your experience, what you observed in your company, how are these SMT adopting these tools? So usually they don't have time to be organized.
Yeah. We almost make it as if it's their idea. So it's getting them to lead it and getting them to take ownership of it as well. Any other questions? Do you think from your point of view, is this something that you would want to use in your companies? Think it would bring value? Do you think it would trigger any ideas, or do you think it's not?
Hi. Yeah, I can take maybe, I haven't spoke so far. So thank you very much first for that presentation. I'm undertaking a new mission on a pretty big company with taking it over the CTO role. The previous one was not a good fit. So definitely I am thinking of how I get the mission and from the CEOs and the top management. And transforming that mission to the team that I will be in charge of, between 20 to 30 people, and how maybe using this Canva as a basic tool. Okay, we are in the same room, we are in the same, I would say, boat. We have that direction that is given by the top management and basically the mission of this is our mission statement, doing this, whatever migration, etc.
Yeah.
So is it something that you would do with managers in our teams to fill in this Canva together so that everyone is in charge and everyone can OKR is I would say the mathematical way. This is I take charge of achieving the mission that we are all on.
Yeah.
So is it the process that you are suggesting?
It is more getting everyone onto the same journey, absolutely. So it's not something that's fully done in silo. But I think what I've learned over the years is that articulate the highest level. So put something on that first, and then bring people together to trigger more conversations. So you can go in with a blank canvas as well, absolutely, yes. But that often I find takes a little bit longer to articulate when you've already got an idea. If you've got some idea, put it in there and then ask the conversation, start building start driving those conversations forward after that. But it should take no more than an hour session should be enough to be able to at least articulate one mission at a time. I don't think you'd need more than that. It depends on the complexity of the mission, really. So one thing that is actually missing, and you've just actually reminded me of that, is the platform angle. So the technical point of view may take a little longer, but the articulation of, you know, what it is the mission is about shouldn't be so difficult.
Okay, cool. Thank you. We'll keep you in contact. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Great. Well, thank you guys for your time. And I won't keep you any longer, but really appreciate your time and your inputs.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Sheetal.
you.
Thanks very
Have a
much.
My
nice day.
pleasure. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.